Goals are things that you'll have been asked to do so many times in your life, in education, short courses, in jobs. But why are we all so attached to setting and asking other people to set goals? So goals are very much like a statement of intent. We set them to tell ourselves what we're trying to do and how we're going about it. But they can also be something that other people ask us to do in order to prove to us that we've done good things and we've actually achieved things with what we've been set to do. So in courses, sometimes goals are there to prove to you as the student that the teacher has delivered and that you've got something out of it. Goals are also energizing. Research shows that if we have a goal we're working towards, and particularly if that goal is seen as being challenging, but not too challenging that it's completely not meetable, but if a goal is challenging, then we will put more energy into working towards it. So therefore, by setting a goal, we're putting far more energy into our work. Goals like affirmations also really kind of kick at the subconscious. It tells the subconscious what we're trying to do. So a goal that's written down, you're 50% more likely to meet than a goal that isn't. And goals give us more staying power. We're more likely, after we've set a goal, to keep going back to make that happen. Whereas if we haven't set a goal, we might try something, it not work, and then give it up and go away and try something else. So goals allow us to have that whole lot more perseverance and to be able to deal with setbacks better. Because statistically, if you try and do something, you will be failing a lot of the time. And people that do well aren't necessarily those who do everything right first time. They're those who are willing to just keep going back and trying again. SMART goals are ubiquitous in the field of goal setting. We can't talk about goals and goal theory unless we also mention SMART goals. They're the thing that you'll be given when you're asked to set goals in all of these different environments we've discussed. But they aren't the only goal setting tool, and they're definitely not the only goal setting theory. So SMART goals are the theory baby of George T. Doran. And the idea of SMART is that it takes other goal theories and it puts it into a really lovely, tidy acronym that's easy to remember. I say easy to remember, I'm dyspraxic, and when you put letters and things in a certain order in order to spell something else, it actually makes it harder for me to remember rather than easier. But for most people, an acronym is an easy way to remember something. And what SMART does is it basically tells us the things a goal needs to be in order to be motivating. So when we set a goal, it's worth spending a bit of time looking at the quality of how we've worded that goal. And that's what SMART basically asks you to do. It asks you to reread it and edit it so that that statement is then SMART. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. There's so much information on the internet about SMART goals that I won't go into them any further, but I couldn't have a section on goals without really bringing them up. So if it's something you want to dig into and learn a bit more about, please go ahead. If not, you understand what SMART is now and what it means. Another well-known and well-used goal theorist is Edwin Locke. This is a much longer, much more complicated theory than SMART, and it's over many, many years. So there's lots of different books and articles and writing by Locke, but I'll summarise as much as I can here. Locke says for a goal to be motivating, it needs to have clarity. So this really is the specific line in SMART. It needs to be something that we've been very clear about so that we clearly know what we're aiming to do and when it will be achieved. He also spoke a lot about how challenging a goal needs to be. So he believed that the more challenging and hard a goal would be to meet, the more energy and motivation we would put into that goal. People work harder at goals that are harder to meet. Now, this obviously has a limit. So if a goal is completely unachievable, you will switch off and think, I'm not even going to go there. But if a goal you believe is possible and it's hard, you will work harder to meet that goal. And people who have set a challenging goal or more difficult things will achieve more than those who have set not as difficult goals. So even if you don't meet that goal, if you've set it, you will achieve more than if you set a goal that was easier to meet, because you will work harder at it and you will put more energy into it. So it's that whole reach for the stars and you might hit the moon kind of thing. A goal also needs to be accepted. And this is something that's actually missing from the SMART acronym. And when I've taught SMART in various places, I've added a Y at the end and made it SMARTY in order to make a goal your own. And I really do feel that this is just so important, that ability to own a goal and to accept it. A goal that somebody else sets for us, we just don't have any ownership in. A goal that somebody has tweaked and tailored in such a way that we no longer recognise it, we can't put the same motivation into. And a goal that we've been asked to take up is one that we won't have that same ownership in. You can have things asked of you, but that goal has to be set by you in your own words, in your own way. Locke believed that feedback was important, so constant checking in of what you're doing, how you're doing it, and really measuring, how is this going? Am I succeeding? Setting deadlines improves effectiveness, and learning goals lead to greater performance than performance goals. So setting a goal around your own learning and development will give you a better performance and a better outcome than setting goals for your performance. And a goal is also easier to strive for and more motivating if it involves commitments to other people. So commitments just to ourselves are great, but you're more likely to reach that goal and to work hard to reach that goal if it includes something that you want to do for others. And a favourite of schools everywhere at the moment is the theory of growth mindset. This originated from the research of Carol Dweck, and it basically compares people with what it refers to as a fixed mindset to people with what it refers to as a growth mindset. So people with a fixed mindset behave as though they believe that intelligence and skills are fixed, that they're innate qualities that we have, and that although we can do certain things with them, the amount of intelligence we have is completely fixed and not fluid and can't be changed. So your potential is your potential, whatever that is. People with a growth mindset believe that intelligence, skills, not just knowledge, is fluid and changeable and can be grown. So people with a growth mindset look at their own intelligence and that of other people as not being static, as being something that can grow, something that you can add time and energy into making bigger. And people with a growth mindset have a lot more resilience. They keep trying. They believe that if they put more work in, if they do a little bit more, if they try a different way, then they can get over any innate problems that they have. People with a fixed mindset tend to believe that failure is intimidating. They want to avoid failure and they want to really do everything they can to make sure that they don't put themselves in a position where they can fail. So they see that first stumbling block as being a sign that that's not something they should be doing. And the theory around growth mindset developed into something that's referred to as grit. And grit basically became that determination, that perseverance, that thing that you get, particularly within classrooms with kids that just don't give up, that will try and keep going. And then those kids often do better, particularly in later life, than the kids who are naturally intelligent but have a fixed mindset. So this is another thing that you may have had training in already, and this is the idea of extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. And extrinsic motivation is basically people that are motivated by external factors. So these are things like praise, like rewards, like accolade, like extra money, bigger salaries, bonuses. But the extrinsic motivation can also come from things that will happen if you don't do it. So some people's extrinsic motivation will be, if you don't do this, this will happen. So having consequences motivates them rather than the praise. Or for some people, it might be both. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. So it's that feeling of wanting to achieve something for yourself. It's wanting growth. It's being motivated by what this achievement gives you. It's being motivated really from what you would like to do, and being motivated by your own personal feeling of achievement. Often part of this teaching on extrinsic and intrinsic motivation is that extrinsic is wrong and intrinsic is right. But I really think that there's a lot more nuance involved in this, and really beliefs and patterns are set from so young. So whether you're extrinsically motivated or intrinsically motivated may come from things that you've experienced in childhood. So that's very difficult to change as an adult. Not impossible, but very difficult. And I think we would all say that, any parents would say that some children that they have just seem to be very naturally extrinsically motivated, whatever you seem to do. So I really don't like this idea that there's a right way or a wrong way, but I think it's really useful to know the concept so that you can look at it and say, what do I personally need in order to be motivated? And if you need extrinsic motivation and you work for yourself and you don't have anybody to give these things to you, then how can you build that in extrinsic motivation within your work? What can you do for yourself? Can you give yourself bonuses? Can you give yourself prizes? Can you post lots of updates to say how well you're doing? What can you do in order to create this extrinsic motivation for you, if that's what you need? So the big question really is, what's your personal goal behaviour? How do you feel comfortable setting goals? What do you need to do in order to set goals that you're motivated to work towards and will put time aside and effort into meeting, and can manage in your daily life. Does SMART work for you? Do you need deadlines, or do those deadlines hinder you? Are you naturally overcautious when setting goals, or are you naturally over generous with what you think you can achieve? And what does that mean for your motivation when you go to start those goals or when you're working towards them? If we think about goals that we do for other people and feedback as being important, who checks up on you? What community do you have around you to help you to really step in and take those goals forward, to give you that great feedback when you've done well? Now, community is a really important thing, but it has to be the right pressure. So if we're working with somebody who we feel pressurized by, then sometimes that can be more problematic. Also, some people have almost a demand avoidance thing. So if somebody says, have you done this? It makes you less likely to do it. So know your own goal motivations, know your own goal behavior, and if you are somebody that finds it hard to be checked up on, make that really clear to the people around you. If you're somebody that needs that feedback and that positive feedback, because there's a big difference between I'm really proud of you for what you've achieved and have you done that thing yet? So which of those do you need? Do you need both? And how can you communicate with the people around you to show what you need? And how do you champion yourself when you've met your goals? Are you intrinsically or extrinsically motivated? And what does that mean for you? What can you do to give extrinsic motivation to yourself if that's what you need?